Hey guys, it's Alex. Join me as I have conversations with ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
But I lift my hands, I give all the praise to you.
Hey guys, it's Alex. Welcome to episode 9 of Ordinary People Doing Extraordinary Things. And today I'm here with Lori Robertson. She is the National Vice President of Arbonne. And I'm so excited to be here to talk about Arbonne, the products, your role at BNI, and just your faith and how it plays in your daily work. And there's just lots of topics and questions that I have. So I'm excited that you're here with me today.
Thank you for having me. It's
Yes.
been so good to meet you and get to know you. And
Thank you.
yeah, I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's start with, talk about when you started at Arbonne and then your growth, because you've been 20, how many years?
21 years.
Wow.
It's hard
So
to believe.
I cannot wait to hear about the growth over those 20-something years. Just what you've learned, how the organization has changed, and how you as a leader have changed.
Well, a lot of people don't realize because it has been a lot of growth, but I was very introverted and I still am introverted. I mean, introvert just means you draw your energy more from being
Yes.
alone than with other people. So, but I love people, you know, and love being around people. But I was shy and introverted, and so I have learned to kind of grow through that and have learned when I need to back up and get more energy. But I think people think introverts can't be in sales, or they think, you know, I'm introverted, I could never do that. And you absolutely can. You can overcome those things. I think the biggest thing that I've learned through the growth is just the importance of mentors, like just having mentors, people that have gone before you. And then also just the way I look at failure as just an opportunity to grow.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yes. Can you speak more to that?
well, sure. Of course, I have had a couple of setbacks in my business, and I look back at them, and I remember early on I would be afraid to share that with people, that maybe somebody on my team might see that as a reason that might chip away at their belief at what they could do or in the company. And what I realized is that, or what I've realized through experience, is that vulnerability is a connector. And if you came to me and you were having issues in your business or you were struggling with something, and I said, well, Alex, I've never struggled. Everything has come so easy to me. I'm so sorry I can't help you. And those have been the opportunities, not only where the growth was, but also the biggest chances to connect and help other people.
Absolutely. That is what connects us, just being human. And I think the problem in today's world is that so many people try to put on this facade that everything's perfect, and look, everything in here in my camp is, my grass is green, and it's not. We all are human. We all have our issues. And so, like you said, vulnerability is the reason that I think it creates trust.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes people will say, you know, there's in our industry, there's a tendency to want to have all the answers when you get a question about a product or about nutrition. But really, we're just walking the same road with other people. We just have access to some information and some products. And so I think the biggest thing is just to say, I don't know, but I can find out for you. And that people respect that more
Yes.
than just trying to come up with some answer out of the sky.
Yes, yes. How has the organization changed from 20 years ago?
Well, 20 years ago, when I started my business, if you can believe this or not, we were not even texting. Everything was on the phone. Everything was in person. And now, you know, we have social media, texting, digital. And so those are not just tools, but they're power tools. We can reach so many more people. But what I have found is that the basics of the business are still the same. And I was actually having lunch with someone today, and she was saying how I would just love to come around a group where I could talk about my challenges with being consistent with my wellness and, you know, get tips from people. And I said, you should come to one of our events, because we do those small events. They always have different themes, whether it's protein cookie workshop or wine and wellness, or, you know, just a chance to gather around a table and chat and learn and connect.
I would love to come to one of those events.
That'd
By
be
the way, that
great.
sounds right up my alley.
Well, I heard recently that the World Health Organization declared loneliness an epidemic a couple of years ago. So we're more connected than ever as a society, but we're lonelier than ever.
That you spoke to social media earlier, and it is a tool, right? But for me, content creation, you have to be a creator and put out into the world what you need to say, and then maybe try to take a step back after you connect with people, because otherwise it will consume you.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a balance, and I'm learning. I mean, every day I'm learning. It's changing so fast, but it's helped me in so many other ways too. Just the things that I've learned. It's, I try to stay relevant with it, but also not let it consume me, because I know it's one tool of many.
Yes, that's true. And at the end of the day, so I've had sales positions before as well, and it is about just creating trust. And you mentioned failure a couple of times and already, and I would love to touch on that too, because I think, what is the saying, you have to hear 10 no's for every yes. And so did it take you some time to build up some toughness to be able to accept that truth?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And definitely with sales, I had a job early on in my career where we had great sales training. I actually worked with Philip Morris, and they were a Fortune 100 company and just had such great sales training. And the biggest thing I took away from that was this thing they taught us called a yellow pad discussion, where you go in with a yellow pad and it's blank and you just listen to what the customer needs. And I think when you approach it from that angle, sales doesn't seem as scary. It's just about building relationships and finding things that the other person needs and seeing if you have something that will fill that need. But yeah, I mean, rejection is, nobody loves it. But I think if you understand the statistics, I think you're right. I think it's something like the average yes happens after 7 follow-ups, but the average salesperson stops after 1 ask.
Yeah, there you go.
Very few people continue on, but those touches don't always have to be nagging, and they can be, sharing a recipe with someone, or
just
sharing,
a natural check-in.
That's right.
Yep,
Exactly.
yep.
Yeah. So when you think of it as relationship building, it doesn't feel so cold and transactional.
Right, absolutely. And it is about relationships. You mentioned having mentors throughout the years. And so talk about anything that you learned from your mentors that stuck with you, that maybe you've used to mentor other people in the organization as well.
Well, gosh, there are so many things. Mentoring other people, I feel like, I think about how John Maxwell talks about how, you should be more of a tour guide, not a travel agent. So going with people, not sending people. So instead of saying, it's let's go, not you go. So I think leading by example is probably the biggest thing I've learned, particularly from mentors in Arbonne, is that, the people that I've learned the most from they are walking the walk. They're doing it.
Yes.
Your walk talks louder than your talk talks, and so I think that that definitely falls through. And then we do things, and this is really cultural within our company and also our team, doing things like book clubs, trainings, retreats, trips, meals, anything that we can do to connect with each other and grow at the same time.
Right.
Yes, I think lots of emphasis. And one of my mentors in Arbonne, I think one year she read like over 200 books or something like that. She was just in a real season where she felt that she needed to lean in. And so that's a bar that I'm thankful to have in front of me.
I'm big on surrounding myself with people that are further ahead than me in business, that are better parents than me, all the things, because that's how we get better.
Yes.
And so I love that you're surrounded by a community of people that are constantly feeding into their own growth, but also each other's.
Yes. Yeah, I'm thankful. I'm so thankful for that. Yeah.
Well, so talk about your role with BNI.
So in BNI, I've been in BNI for, 13 or 14 years, I think.
Okay.
I'm currently serving as president, and that just basically means I'm the one that gets to run the meeting, which is a lot of fun. But probably more natural fit for me, I've also served as vice president before, which is more the analytical, behind the scenes, keeping up with all the, referrals and things like that we track. BNI is a networking, for people that don't know, it's a networking referral organization. And it is, on my particular group, we meet on the first Thursday of every month. of every week. First Thursday, in fact, when we walked in, that's how we met.
Yes,
and you were
yes.
talking about how that it's a commitment, but through that commitment has come so much value.
Yes.
Not just for me, like I could look at referrals and things like that over the years, and that's been great. But my husband says all the time, like that BNI, connection that you have is so valuable. It's helped our family in different ways. Like we got involved a few years ago in rental property and started doing Airbnb, and that was a lot because of a relationship that I had in BNI and somebody that I met, mentors that way. And so that was great. And then just for like my family, my friends, people know now, they'll say like, hey, who in your BNI group does, pest control, or who in your BNI group's a videographer, or who does cars. I mean, they know that is a trusted resource.
Yes.
And that's what I love. While there is accountability for showing up and being there for each other, that also creates a huge level of trust.
Absolutely. So I just want to quickly touch on that. So it was my honor to sit in, for Alan and to just be in that room and experience it. And I thought that was really cool just to make those connections as well. And to see how you guys are really pouring into each other and each other's businesses. And what really stood out was you leading it, and it seems like so natural for you. And I was just really impressed, to be honest with you.
That's so nice.
Yeah,
Thank you. That means a lot.
And so as far as, your confidence in selling or your confidence leading in that room, can you talk about, like, how has that grown, and what do you think it's just practice over time and being consistent?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. One of my favorite quotes, it's another John Maxwell quote. It's, let's see, preparation is confidence's twin. So the more prepared you are, the more confident you are. So you go in to take a test. If you know the material, you're feeling great. If you crammed right before you walked in, you're nervous. And so, yes, I think practice, but I think also, I've been hearing and seeing a lot lately about how keeping promises to yourself helps a lot with self-confidence. Absolutely. So I think the more that you trust yourself because you got up early when it was really hard to get up early, and you went to the gym, or you kept a promise to your child, or you showed up when it was hard to show up. I think those things create confidence.
A lot of times we will make promises to our boss, our spouse, whoever, and we keep those, but then when it comes to ourselves, it's not the same. And it's like, why would we not hold ourselves accountable to the things that we said?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you can't pour from an empty cup.
No.
And when you asked about like developing people and having the energy to do those things, and it does, I don't know why it feels, I think for a lot of people, and I struggle with this too, sometimes it feels selfish to take time to go to the gym or to go to bed early when there are still things to be done. But those things are so critical to long-term, health and happiness, and to be able to be the best you for what the world needs.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm big on self-care. I think it's important. I don't feel selfish if I take the time that I need, because I know that I can't give my daughter the best me, or my career the best me, or just being here present with you, and I'll give you an example of that. Today, just like all of us, a lot going on, and I said a prayer. I said, God, please help me to be so present so that I'm here in this conversation with you. And because this is otherwise what's the point if we're not present with the people where we choose to be, right? All that being said, speaking of self-care, I want to go back to the Arbonne piece of it, because I've used Arbonne products before. Big fan, and I'm wondering, what are your favorite products, or what do you recommend for self-care for any of our listeners?
Well, for self-care, I absolutely love I love the night cream. I mean, the Derm Results Advanced Night Cream is just heavenly. It's great, and especially even in the winter, like use it day and night when your skin is dry. But my daily go-tos for self-care, definitely a huge fan of the protein powder and the protein boost, because it's just hard. That's a place I think people struggle with getting enough protein, and it's not that protein shakes are going to be your whole entire life, but they're a bridge, from not getting as much protein as is optimal, and also just convenient, and a healthy convenience, and they taste good. So I love that. And then I also love our Fizz Sticks, which are just an energy, only 55 milligrams of caffeine. So you don't get, crazy jitters, but they give you just enough to kind of get that, have that focus and feel like you're having a, little bit of a treat. So,
yeah, definitely. The chocolate protein powder is one of my favorites. There's an a recipe with oats and peanut butter. What are they? It's like the bars.
It's like the
or the
no
balls.
bake. Yeah, there's a no bake. They're like the no bake cookies.
Sign me
They're
up
so
for
good.
that.
Yes.
So that's I've been stuck on that for years. So definitely need to revisit that. As far as I want to touch back on selling, because when young people come into the organization, or not necessarily young, new, and they don't have a sales background, how do you coach them through, here's the tools you have to be successful?
That's a really good question. I know for us in particular, we have a system that we follow, and it follows me being with the person. Whoever I bring into Arbonne, I'm going to be right there with them, and so they're going to learn as they earn. So it's a kind of a learn as you go. So it's not like, here's a manual, here's how you sell, go. It's more, I'm going to help you, and I'm going to stay with you and match your efforts as long as you want me with. I always tell people that. I say, the good news is you're in business for yourself, but you're not by yourself. So we have tools and systems and training and things like that, but we also do a lot of, sticking together, sticking with each other so they can learn as they go. But the biggest thing, honestly, is listening. It is just, and I think that's so true in just about anything that you do. I mean, I'm sure the same is true for physicians or, there's just not many things that you do where listening is not going to
Get you far.
That's right.
Yeah. It's a part of, I read a book called The Coaching Habit, and it talks about the questions that if you'll start the conversation with, where are you at today? And whoever you're trying to talk to will tell you. And then you say, and what else? And then it just pulls, because people will just tell you what's going on, what's on their mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard something recently, and it was similar to that, but it was instead of saying how are you, it was like, so what exciting's going on in your life right now? And it's just a different way of connecting than just the standard small talk.
That's right. Or what's challenging you.
Yes.
Because a lot of times people want to come to you, but they don't want to sound whiny or needy or like, woe is me. But we really do all have things that's like, hey, let me bounce some ideas off of you. And they may not know that that's a safe space to have that conversation. Right. So in with those relationships with those new in selling, to me, I love that they have someone to go to so that they can ask questions. How did you handle this type of situation? I'm hitting a wall. And people, I think there's a common misconception with that you have to have a huge network, right?
Right. Yes, that is a very big misconception. But that is one of the things that we teach people is how to meet people outside of your network. And I think we were just talking earlier before we started recording about the 7 degrees, we're all connected. And really, I mean, the statistics crazy, like the average person knows, I don't know, 2,500 people or something like that. So, it may, and I have found this to be true in my business, it wasn't the people that I knew that necessarily were excited to buy my products or join my business, but it was often people I met through the people that I knew. And and so just we teach people how to do that. And I do tell new consultants and existing consultants, like, I love when you call me. I love when you text me. You can't call or text me too much. It's okay. Again, I just go back to that matching efforts.
Yeah. Well, and so we live in Tupelo, a pretty small, not tiny town, but a pretty small community, right? A lot of people, everybody knows everybody. And so would you say that your network is primarily here, and how has it expanded? What does that look like on a regional basis? Or
well, one of my favorite stories, my network's all over the country, and again, it goes back to the way that we're connected digitally. And but even before that, and I just love this story, when I was first getting started in my Arbonne business, so I was a couple years in, and my sister had a few friends together for me, kind of reluctantly. And when I got there, she said, "Oh, I told my friends that we could watch Dancing with the Stars if they came." Okay, this is supposed to be an Arbonne presentation. And so I just kind of went with it. And it was kind of a, as my 14-year-old would say, it was mid. It just wasn't that great that night. But I met somebody, and she taught with my sister, and she started doing Arbonne with me, and she introduced me to somebody she went to church with, who went on to become a regional vice president in our company.
Wow.
And that girl had friends in California and Arkansas.
There you go.
And so from there, and so it's just, I have a consultant from New Zealand because my husband's cousin was she was an exchange student in New Zealand for a few years, and she had friends there. So, yeah, I mean, there's no geographical limit. So when you say, I have a really strong leader on my team who lives in West Point, and one of the things she loves to tell people is, I made it to the top of this company, and I live in a county that has the highest, free and reduced lunch in their school system. And so you would think, high-end health and wellness products and where you live, but it isn't just where you live. It isn't just what's right there immediately.
That's right. Well, and that what you just said, it reminds me, the only limits are the ones we put on ourselves, don't you think?
So true.
Yeah,
So
and it
true.
took me a long time to not just learn that, but to really believe it,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I try not to let my mindset hold me back.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. The power of the tongue, and the power of the things that you think and that you
Yeah.
what you put into your mind. Yeah.
All the content, it's all words are real, speaking life over your goals and over your home. That's right. Speaking of, can you speak to your faith? How does your faith well, let's talk about your Christian walk. Talk about that. How did you get started?
Well, I didn't really grow up. We didn't go to church super often growing up. My dad was great, but he was, had some church hurt, and so we did not. I told somebody one time, she was an older lady at church, and I said, well, my dad doesn't believe in organized religion, and she said, oh, honey, we're not that organized. But the fact of the matter is, I came to faith a little bit later in life, in probably my late 20s, and it's just been such a joy to grow in it and just to know Jesus, and now it's everything. I mean, I know that I'm nothing without my faith. I'm nothing without Jesus. I love going to church on Sunday and taking notes and learning and growing and spending time in the Word, and then having certain verses that I speak over my life. This year I've loved a verse from Chronicles. I think it's the prayer of Jabez about enlarging your territory, but also, Lord, be with me, keep me from harm, let me do no evil. Like, I love not just speaking worldly affirmations, but also affirmations that come from Scripture.
That's so good. Speaking of enlarging your territory, there's verses that say, if I'm going to ask for more is given to me, then more responsibility is expected, right? And I'm chopping that up, but and that's heavy. That's if I'm going to ask for more, God's like, well, okay, here, let me give you an inch and see what you do with it before I just let you out. He has to be able to trust us in the decisions that we make.
Yes. I my mentor in Arbonne, she says all the time, our success is not for us. It's to be shared. And
yeah. Talk about how has there been a time when your faith was tested?
I think, definitely I have in my life at certain times struggled with anxiety.
Yeah.
Sometimes more than others. And I remember just really struggling with why things happen to people who were so faithful, no matter how much they prayed.
I struggle with that same thing.
And I, read a book called "When Bad Things Happen to Good People" by Rabbi Kushner, and that was a really, really good book for me, and it really shaped my faith with my perception of bad things in the world. And so I don't know that I would say my faith has been tested. I feel like on my way to find my faith, I feel like I found what would help me when bad things happened in my life, so that I didn't feel like it was testing my faith. I felt like the times that I've heard God were when I felt the closest to God were in the most trying times in my life.
Absolutely. Well, we're promised trials and tribulations, right? It's not a question. It's like, hey, you're
Yes,
gonna experience
yes.
these
In this
things.
in this world,
you will have trouble.
Yes, yes.
You will.
You will. Not you might, not maybe.
And all of you, not
Yes.
just some of you.
Yes.
And it's interesting to me because I'm learning that we all face trials of very different kinds. You know, it could be just financial or health issues or just loss. I mean, and we're all going through something. And the older I get, I try to realize, man, give people grace because you don't know what they're going through.
That's right.
And we may be, them, me, whoever may be at our max capacity
Yes.
at that time in our life.
Yes, that's right. That's right. I think that's one of the first rules from Stephen Covey's. I mean, this is an old one. The 7 Habits. I mean, isn't Paradigm Shift like the first one? And I remember the story about he was on a bus and the kids were fighting across from him, and he was frustrated, and the dad said, "I'm so sorry, their mom just passed away and we're on our way home."
Yes,
you know, and
I
it's
remember
just
that part
like
of the book.
that is the epitome of you don't ever know what somebody else might be dealing with. Yeah.
Speaking of that book, my favorite one is Think Win-Win, and you kind of talked about this in the beginning, where every relationship it needs to be a win for both people, right? And so, you know, like you said, if you listen long enough, you can figure out what they're really about, what they need, what they don't need.
Right. That's right. Yeah, like you just said, you know, you loved the protein and you love the chocolate and you might need, so, you know, why would I ask you when we leave here, why would I go on about eye gel masks? You know, I mean, you just said, like, you just,
I like the chocolate protein.
But I was listening. Yeah. So,
yeah. But I think a lot of people, they go into a conversation or whatever it is with an agenda, right? And like already know what they want to say before, you know.
Yeah.
So.
And a lot of times that's just somebody just being nervous, you know, and feeling like they don't want to look, you know, they don't want to look like they're not prepared.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So.
You have you've mentioned several really good mentors and books, and one of the things that comes to my mind that I've read recently for my team and as a people manager is called Radical Candor. And the principle of it is, you know, sometimes it's hard to, especially with people we care about in the organization, to have these hard conversations that need to be had.
Yes.
Can you speak to that?
Yes, and that's an area that I probably that I have tried to work on and that I need to continue to work on, because that doesn't come naturally to me.
It doesn't.
But I know clear is kind.
Yes.
And I think, you know, my mentor in Arbonne has said before that, you know, if I'm more worried about how I look in someone's eyes, I'm not doing them because I don't want them to be mad at me or upset with me. That's not really having the other person's best interest at heart. So, but I think speaking the truth in love, you know, and if people know, if you have that relationship with somebody, I have a friend who says she always thinks, does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? And does it need to be said right now? And I think there are some people that they might hear different feedback from certain people differently. So there's some people on my team that maybe my mentor needs to talk to and doesn't need to come from me.
That's right. I was about to ask you, what do you think speaking it in love means, but you just answered my question, and I'm going to apply that in my personal life. See, it's interesting because maybe you don't have this issue, but for me in my professional life, I feel like it's very straight and narrow. I don't have any troubles with my communication, but sometimes in my personal life, I guess because I feel more safe with those people that I love around me, and it's less filtered.
Yes. I get that. Yeah, I know. It's I think it's something a lot of people, especially in the South, that direct communication can be tough. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I'm glad you said that. And sometimes it's good just to pause and like you said, take a step back about, hey, what's the best way to communicate this, whatever the situation is. So yeah, when you think about developing people, let's say somebody has a big goal and they're a go-getter.
Yes.
But they got some big obstacles ahead of them.
Yes.
What's your advice?
I love that. So I'm a big believer in like good, great, and awesome goals. So you can have the awesome goal that is like really your stretch goal, but I think also to have one or two goals that you feel like, might be a little bit of a stretch, but you're pretty sure you can hit it. Yeah. I think having your goals posted is huge. Find a mentor, absolutely. Affirmations, speaking life over what
big
you
on
want.
those.
And understanding, being really clear about the vision, like what is that goal going to, so like if your goal is, I want to grow an organization, full of heart-led leaders, and my organization averages $2 million a month. So but why, like why is that what is that goal going to, so being clear about your why, I think, is important too.
I'm glad you brought that up, because burnout is real, right?
Yes.
And so, if we don't have a reason why,
Yes,
and come back to that, then what do we have to hold on
that's
to?
right. Yeah. Like, what is success? Define success for you. I mean, you have, what is, for some people, success is, a simpler life. For some people, they have a lot of medical debt to pay off, and so financial, to have some peace in their home, they have those financial goals. So it's, it's different for everybody.
Yeah. All right. Well, to wrap things up, I have another final question. When you think about, like I've heard before, keep your goals private and just work in silence, and then let your work speak for itself, or there's the speak life and tell the whole world what your plan is, and they'll hold you accountable. So what's your stance on that? Which one do you think you relate to?
Gosh, that is a good question. I think it just depends. Oh, that's good. I think it probably depends on the person. I think I'm more comfortable not publicly declaring my goal, but telling a couple of people that I wouldn't want to let down.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't want to let, Alexis down. I'm going to tell her my goal. Or my mentor, hey, I want to talk to 200 people this month. Will you ask me on August 31st how many people I've... Yeah. I mean, I think that is probably, I would think, generally more effective than just blasting it out on social media. Although I do think I have seen people put like their sticky notes up and, of their goals, and they'll pull one down every time. And I think that's fun to watch too. But I don't think you can do that every month. I mean, I think that would get tiring. So
I like that. Just a few trusted people that you don't want to let down, that hold you accountable. That's solid. That was really good. Well, Lori, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being
I've
here.
enjoyed talking. The time flew.
Yeah, it
like
did.
you're
It
so
really
easy
did.
to talk to. Yeah.
But I can tell, I just want to say this, I can tell you lead with a servant's heart and a heart of Jesus, and it just shines through you, and I mean that, I can really see that. And so thank you for being here, because, nobody has to take this time to be here with me and to share the knowledge and the wisdom that's been learned. And so I just want to say it means a lot.
Well, thank you. And thank you for your prayer before we started, because it really
It's my
calmed
favorite part,
my
honestly.
nerves. Yes, it was a welcome surprise. So
Good.
thank you.
I'm glad. All right. Well, that ends episode 9. We will see you next time. Thanks for being here.
And Lord, I lift my hands